Every organization makes technology choices. Some are visible: a new application, a new cloud service, a new device platform. Others are less visible. They concern control points. Who authenticates users? Who defines access? Who manages devices? Where do processes run? Where and how is data stored? Who has to trust whom? The Microsoft Platform Staircase is not a judgment. It is an orientation model. It helps an organization ask a simple question: where are we today? And where do we deliberately want to go? At the lower end of the staircase, Microsoft is mainly used as a tool. The organization may depend on Microsoft products, but the central control points remain largely within its own environment. This is the world of local operation, internal control, and clearly separated responsibilities. Step 0 is the on-prem Office world. Office applications, mail systems, file services, and directories are operated mainly within the organization's own infrastructure. Microsoft provides software. The organization operates, authenticates, and controls. The important point is not nostalgia. It is architecture. At this level, Microsoft is primarily a product supplier, not the operating model. Step 1 is Microsoft 365 with a digitally sovereign on-premises identity provider owned and controlled by the organization, performing all authentications, while Entra ID acts solely as the federated relying party and is not the authoritative identity provider. Collaboration moves into the cloud. Mail, documents, meetings, and shared workspaces may be provided through Microsoft 365. But the authentication authority remains with the organization. This distinction matters. The collaboration platform is Microsoft. The act of granting entry is still under the organization's own authority. Step 2 is Microsoft 365 with Entra ID as the leading and authoritative identity provider for Microsoft 365 services. Entra ID assumes responsibility for authentication. Identity and authentication are thereby moved to the Microsoft Cloud. Here, Microsoft is no longer only the platform for collaboration. It also becomes the authentication and access layer for the Microsoft 365 environment. Microsoft becomes the gatekeeper of the Microsoft Cloud. This may be efficient. It may be operationally attractive. But it is a different control point. The question is no longer only where the data is processed. It is also who controls access to it. The middle section of the staircase marks a change in character. Microsoft is no longer only a tool set. It becomes a strategic control layer. Authentication, access policy, and device state begin to form a connected chain. This is often where the most important strategic decisions are made, sometimes without appearing strategic at first. Step 3 is Entra for third-party SaaS. At this level, Entra is used beyond Microsoft services. External cloud applications and third-party platforms are connected to it. This changes the role of Entra. It is no longer just the entrance to Microsoft 365. it becomes a broader access service for the organization. The positioning question is clear. Should Entra remain within the Microsoft world, or should it become a general access layer for the organization? Step 4 is conditional access. This is a significant shift. Authentication answers the question, "Who are you?" Conditional access asks more. Where are you? Which device are you using? What is the risk? Which application are you trying to reach? Under what conditions should access be allowed? Access is no longer a simple login event. It becomes a policy decision. And policy decisions are strategic control points. Step 5 is Intune on smartphones. Here, access policy and device management begin to work together. A mobile device is registered. Its compliance is assessed. Apps may be configured. Certificates may be distributed. Access may depend on the device state. This is the first visible form of the control chain shown in the graphic. Entra authenticates. Conditional access evaluates. Intune provides and controls the device state. This can improve standardization and security. But it also changes where device-related control is exercised. The core control chain is the center of the model. Entra. Conditional access. Intune. Together, they connect identity, access decision, and device condition. This chain can be powerful. It can also become foundational. That is why it should not emerge accidentally. It should be understood, governed, and deliberately chosen. Step 6 is Entra as standard IAM for new apps. The change here is architectural. New mobile applications, internal portals, APIs, and enterprise applications are no longer primarily designed around the organization's own IAM. They are designed around Entra. The practical question changes. It is no longer, how do we integrate with our IAM? It becomes, how do we integrate with Entra? This is often the moment where future architecture begins to follow the platform. Step 7 is Intune on notebooks. This is a further threshold. The notebook is often the main workplace device. It is where communication, documents, specialist applications, and operational work come together. When notebooks are managed through Intune, Microsoft becomes part of the operational control of the digital workplace. Policies, compliance, software distribution, certificates, encryption settings, remote actions. The organization is no longer only using a cloud collaboration suite. It is placing the workplace itself into the Microsoft control chain. The upper section of the staircase marks another change. Microsoft is no longer only a strategic control layer. It increasingly becomes an operating model. Processes, data, technical trust relationships, and operational logic begin to be built inside the Microsoft platform. At this level, the question is not only technical, it becomes organizational. Step 8 is Business Solutions in Microsoft. With Power Apps, Power Automate, Forms, SharePoint lists, Dataverse, and related services, business units can build solutions directly within the Microsoft environment. This can be useful. It can accelerate delivery. It can empower departments. But it also means that specialist solutions begin to inherit the logic, permissions, and dependencies of the platform in which they are built. The workplace platform becomes a solution platform. Step 9 is Business Processes in Microsoft. Here, individual solutions become lasting processes. Approvals, workflows, case handling, reporting, automation, operational coordination. The organization is no longer only using Microsoft tools to support work. Parts of the work itself are modeled and operated within Microsoft. This is a deeper form of dependency, because process logic is harder to move than a single application. Step 10 is the Microsoft Data Platform. Data storage, analytics, dashboards, and management information may move into Azure, Dataverse, Fabric, Power BI, or related services. At this level, Microsoft is not only where people collaborate. It is where data is structured, analyzed, and turned into decisions. This is another important control point. Data platforms shape what an organization can see, measure, and govern. Step 11 is Microsoft as technical trust base. Now the model moves beyond human users. Applications need identities. APIs need permissions. Automations need credentials. Systems need to trust other systems. When these relationships are based on Microsoft platform identities and permissions, Microsoft becomes a technical trust base. Not only people rely on it, systems rely on it. And system-to-system trust is one of the deepest layers of digital architecture. Step 12 is where the own IAM loses the lead. This does not usually happen in one decision. It happens gradually. First, third-party applications use Entra. Then, access policy moves into conditional access. Then, new applications integrate directly with Entra. Then, business solutions, processes, data, and technical identities grow inside the Microsoft platform. At some point, the organization's own IAM is no longer the leading architecture. It becomes a supplier, a special case, a translation layer. This may be accepted, but it should be a conscious position, not an unintended result. Step 13 is Microsoft All-In. This does not simply mean that many Microsoft products are used. It means that key control points are substantially Microsoft-centered. Authentication, access policy, devices, business solutions, processes, data, technical trust, security, monitoring, development, and operation. At this level, an exit is no longer just a product replacement. It is an architectural, operational, and organizational transformation. The value of the staircase lies in its simplicity. It does not say that one level is right and another is wrong. It shows the nature of the position. At the lower levels, Microsoft is mainly a tool. In the middle, Microsoft becomes a strategic control layer. At the upper levels, Microsoft becomes part of the operating model. Each organization may choose a different position, but the choice should be explicit. The key question is therefore not Microsoft yes or no. The key question is, which control points do we want to keep? And which do we deliberately place in the Microsoft platform? This is a question of architecture, of governance, of risk, of operational resilience, and of strategic intent. The Microsoft platform staircase makes these choices visible, so that technology decisions do not accumulate silently, but become a deliberate organizational strategy.